Hi, Jasmine. Good to see you on board today. Oh, right. Okay. That's okay. I will just talk to myself today. I don't think we've got too many that can make it tonight, actually. So I'll wait for a few minutes and hopefully everybody can reach this recording later on. I hope you had a good day at work, Jazz. Do, 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 do. Hi, Chloe. Hope you're having
Hi.
a good evening. Hiya. How you getting on?
Yeah, good. I've
Good.
actually been bad at not doing my food diary, so I've put myself on a task that I need to keep doing it. But I did do one of the tests yesterday, the sweet corn one, so at
Oh yeah,
least I can update one of the worksheets soon. I feel like I've been
amazing.
a little bit this week.
It's all right. I think I mean at the beginning I set quite a few tasks, so and I didn't expect anyone to complete them all together. So totally okay to do it. And plus it takes time to find time to do these tests, like eat some sweet corn and then put it in your diet and things like that. What did you find?
So I've only done it yesterday,
Oh,
so
okay.
so
So
far
nothing's happened so
nothing.
far.
But I'm more intrigued to do the beetroot test because I last summer when I was living abroad, I ate loads of beetroot and actually had that
Hmm.
fear of, oh my God, I'm bleeding. To
Oh,
my
yeah.
partner to remind me, we've eaten loads of beetroot at dinner. Um,
Uh-huh.
so yeah, I'm intrigued to see that one again.
Okay. This time you know what it is, and you're not gonna panic, hopefully.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
you haven't eaten tested or cheating. So good, good. Okay. So you haven't been able to do food diary, but have you noticed any triggers, anything that's like impacted you a lot? Anything in your food that you've been eating?
Yes, pasta.
Mm.
Just makes me really tired. Like really,
Mm.
really tired. So I think I'm gonna move on to gluten-free pasta and give that a
Yeah.
go. Like bread I seem to be fine with, and I've like done the thing before to check if I have a gluten intolerance and I don't. But I think it's just some wheat more than others is like too heavy for me.
Yeah, yeah, totally. It totally makes sense. I think last time we were talking about like the pesticides and where your wheat comes from, and especially because like proper pasta is supposed to be made by hand.
Yeah,
Like you put the egg yolks in with your flour and blah blah blah. You do the whole kneading thing, and then you put it through that machine thing. But the pasta that we get dried from the supermarket, that's been through a massive process in the factory, not how it's meant to be done. Same with bread. Sometimes if you get like a loaf of Hovis, some people really struggle with that versus like a loaf of sourdough. A lot of people are all right with sourdough. So it's really about like what type it is. So yeah, I'm not
yeah.
surprised.
Because actually
Yeah.
I went out for lunch on the weekend and I got sourdough instead of normal bread and I didn't feel so full after, like so bloated after as well.
Oh, that's good. That's fantastic. Yeah, because that
Yeah,
means you can
so
still enjoy bread and not feel rubbish after it.
exactly. So I think sourdough is my new go-to.
Yeah, and it tastes better as well, I believe. I think
Yeah,
like
I
normal
love
bread
it.
tastes horrible. Okay, cool. So I think I'm going to get started today because I think a bunch of us can't make it today due to various reasons, but everybody's going to catch up on the recording later. So we've reached the last webinar of the series. How are you both feeling? I know Jasmine can't speak at the moment, but feel free to type in the chat. How are you both feeling now at the end of the almost at the end anyway of the program?
I feel really positive
Good.
with all the information that you've given us. I think it's been really useful.
Fantastic. That's so good. I mean, that's music to my ears. Like, I do what I do, and I think it's so empowering to give, to have the information and be shown that there is hope and there is a way out. Because, like, when you sometimes when you go to the doctors, when they don't have time to give you to actually help you understand what's happening, it can feel so deflating.
Yeah.
And with information everywhere else, it's very much like not personalized and it's hard to navigate through it. But yeah, I'm really pleased to hear that. So yeah, fantastic. So today what we're going to do is go through what happens beyond the gut. So there is so much that's linked to the digestive system because um we are one whole body. Can you see my screen, by the way, the slides?
Yep.
uh I'm on, you're probably more in tune. So you guys have been able to listen to your body. I think taking the first step with signing up to my course and taking the initiative to learn more about your body is already better than most of the population, because most people just go about their day to day ignoring their symptoms, not really thinking about why they've got an issue and just dealing with it, or just going with the solution of having medication, and they're not really some people are just not interested in changing their health. But it is empowering that you guys have decided to take this into your own hands, to figure it out so that you can feel better and live a healthier, more comfortable life, really. So I reckon you're more in tune in with your body than most people. So listening to your body is so important. And of course, I always say that the body is one whole entity. It's not like, your arm's not attached to your body, or like, because I think in conventional healthcare, we tend to think about the body as like separate parts. It's like your arm isn't attached to you, or your heart is in a completely different, like floating body parts in almost. Because when you go to the hospital, you have a gastroenterologist for your gut, you have a psychologist for your brain, you have a cardiologist for your heart. But for some reason we don't realize that that's everything is connected in one system. So of course your digestive system can impact your brain, because there's like everything's in the same box basically. So of course any chemicals that come from your guts, any signaling that goes vice versa, there's always going to be something that affects another health issue in the body. So what we're going to be doing today will be understanding how the gut impacts the rest of the body. And we're also going to be going through these concepts. So I'm going to be linking into the gut and digestive system all the way through. And of course, as usual, feel free to ask questions as we go. I love this to be a very much conversational webinar. And what I'm going to be linking into a lot will be leaky gut. So that's what we talked about last time. And that's where hyperintestinal permeability comes up. So, and that I'll explain why that impacts like your mental health, your immune system, and all of that. I'll also touch on hormone problems, because I know that we have a few people with hormone imbalances, especially us women. Many women have PMS, PMDD, heavy periods, abdominal cramps, even endometriosis. We have Aaliyah with endometriosis here. We also have PCOS as well. So there's lots of things that can happen when hormones are out of balance. But often the case is you'll find that the digestive system isn't working so well as well. Immune system. If you are someone that's prone to colds and flus, especially like nowadays, I think lately a lot of people have been getting sore throats, and also catching the colds and flus, even COVID again as well. More or difficulty with gut health means that your immune system's not so strong either, because your immune system, 75% of it is actually based in your gut. So of course, if your gut's not working well, then your immune system doesn't work well either. And then we'll go into nutrient deficiencies and where to spot nutrient deficiencies. So I haven't actually uploaded the workbook for this section yet, but I will do after this session. So the digestive system, as I said, there's so many things that it's linked to. With the gut brain connection, we touched on this before. There is that vagus nerve which connects your brain to all of your vital organs, basically. But in terms of the digestive system, that telephone line between your gut and your brain is so important because the brain and the digestive system communicate via chemical signals. And that happens all throughout your body. But particularly for the digestive system, it's really interesting because where you have a lot of bacteria in your guts, a lot of the bacteria actually send signals to your brain too, which is really interesting because in the last 10 years, we've started to understand that the bacteria in our guts can actually impact your mental health and how you're feeling, which is profound because we always thought that depression was a mental thing only, but actually, no, it's not just mental. It may be situational and exacerbated by issues that are happening in your day-to-day life, or maybe negative events like losing a loved one or a breakup or something like that. But a lot of the times it's actually very much biochemical. I believe that it's much more the stage is set by your biochemistry and your genetics, and then how those players act on the stage is all to do with your situation. So we'll go into that in more detail. And also, yeah, I've explained the immune system, and also we'll go into the hormone balances as well in more depth too. So, have you both got any other issues that you wanted to work on specifically? Say, for example, skin problems, anxiety, any low moods, hormone issues at all? Skin, okay. So Jasmine says
Um,
skin, anxiety, and hormone issues. Okay.
yeah, mine is similar actually.
Okay, cool. So that's pretty good. So then we can talk about the same things today. I will touch on other issues that the rest of the group are struggling with. So that will also come too, and PMS. Okay, so easy peasy. Good. So inflammation is my first point. So inflammation, I don't know if you guys know very much about inflammation, but inflammation is basically a signal that something is wrong. It is it's the redness that you get when you cut your finger. It's the redness in your skin if you get hives. It's the pain that you feel if you had uh, something upset your stomach. It's even when you get hay fever and you get all snotty and itchy, right? So inflammation is that pain and inflammation signal, if you like. So I like to explain it like a fire in a house. If you had a fireplace and it's nice and controlled, that is good inflammation because you need inflammation to help you clear debris, fight infection. It warms your house basically. But if, for example, that fire starts to catch on something else, then that's when you start to lose control of inflammation, and that's where it can cause health issues. So for example, if you have any skin issues like acne or eczema, dermatitis, hives, anything like that, that is like physical signs on the outside that there is inflammation in the body. If you have any joint pain, um, if you've ever experienced any joint pain in your fingers or on your knees and you're not quite sure why that is, like you haven't had an injury or anything, and you're like it seems to be like it's for no reason, that could potentially be some inflammation, probably originating from your gut. I know for a fact that last year I started getting joint pain in my thumbs when I drank milk. Now it doesn't happen. So it's really interesting how your immune system changes. Like depending on your situation, depending on the health of your gut, sometimes you can get sensitivities to things and that can increase inflammation. So let's get into it. And there are also signs of inflammation that aren't always that obvious as well. So when you're anemic and low in energy, brain fog is a massive one when it comes to inflammation and leaky gut. depression and anxiety, any mental health issue is very much driven by anxiety, by inflammation even. Depression, anxiety, bipolar, psychosis, anything like that, that it's all inflammation led, and whereby it will be driven by or exacerbated by situational events. The underlying factor is that it's inflammation driving, and hair loss as well. Do any of you suffer from hair loss at all? Okay, good. No hair loss, that's fantastic. So leaky gut. It's a really interesting topic because not many people know too much about it. I mean, it's very much a well-known issue in the functional and natural health space. But in the conventional health space, they're starting to understand that this is an issue. So on the right-hand side, I have got a diagram of the gut lining on a microscopic level. So if we were looking at the small intestine, and that's the middle bit, the outside bit is your large intestine. That's where you've got loads, it's like a massive long sausage in your belly. You've got your small intestine, and that's where you really absorb your nutrients and break them down after the stomach has done its job. So if you looked on a microscopic level and imagine that you're looking inside the tube, and this is a cross section, this is where the food goes through the tube. And you also have some bacteria, not too much bacteria, or you're not supposed to have too much here. And you're supposed to break down your food. It becomes small particles into these little circles, and then it should enter the bloodstream, where it then gets delivered to all of your cells. Now, if you remember from last week, we were talking about bacterial overgrowth in the gut, where we're not supposed to have too much bacteria there. It's supposed to be quite sterile. Most of your bacteria is supposed to sit in your large intestine. So if you are bloating straight after a meal, or maybe shortly after a meal, and you're getting really gassy, then it helps to tell us where that overgrowth of bacteria is, because if you've got too much bacteria in your small intestine, and it causes gas production because the bacteria, if you remember, ferments food that you're not able to digest very well. So if you've got too much bacteria there, they will make gas, and the gas will irritate you and make you really bloated. It might cause you pain. It will cause you inflammation at the gut lining as well. So it does become an issue, and we can link leaky gut to a lot of health problems actually. So leaky gut, if you like, comes up like this. So here on the right hand side, this is a normal intestinal lining, and it's really healthy, nice and tightly packed. So last time I said that if you were to stretch out your small intestines across it would span a tennis court. It's that large. The surface area is massive because if you folded out all of these little projections, these little villi, you'd actually span the whole of a tennis court. So that's why you've got really tightly packed, bunched up small intestine, because then that means you absorb as much as you can, whilst it's efficient at keeping all of this bad stuff, the bacteria, debris, rubbish that you're ingesting out of your bloodstream. So it's one of the main entry sites to the rest of your body, because if not one of two really, because your skin is supposed to be intact, you're not supposed to have any cuts, there's not supposed to be any entry points. So through your gut, it's got to be passed through these cells and into your bloodstream, and your immune system actually samples and has a look at all the stuff that goes into your gut and decides whether it lets anything through. But you can also ingest things through your lungs when you're breathing, but only a certain amount of you're supposed to only take in gaseous products through your lungs, but when you're looking at your gut, loads more can actually get through. And if you had leaky gut, more can get through to your bloodstream than if you had a healthy bloodstream. So if you're feeling tired and sleepy when you've had pasta, it could either be because it's causing you a carb crash because you're eating a lot of carbs at one time, or if you're reacting to the gluten, it's probably because of the protein that's reached your intestinal lining. immune systems gone like, oh, I don't really like that. That gluten doesn't look like something I want to eat, and it's going to cause inflammation. Anyway, I'm going to attack it. So the immune system, which is actually based in the gut, will come and attack it and cause inflammation to your intestinal lining. So if you've ever found that you get similar fatigue, energy issues with other foods, say for example, dairy sometimes causes people more mucus production or flu-like symptoms. I used to get it with eggs. Eggs would make me feel like I had the flu. So yeah, and that would be basically the proteins in eggs would have told my immune system that this is inflammatory. Therefore, the immune system goes and attacks it and then can cause some leaky gut. So this is a fundamental concept when we're talking about issues with the rest of the body, such as the mental health, such as low energy levels, such as nutrient deficiency. So I want to keep this concept in your minds throughout this whole webinar. So, as I said, with problems that are linked to leaky gut include skin issues. So any eczema, all eczema, hives, which is also urticaria and psoriasis, they're all immune issues, but they work slightly differently. So eczema and hives are very much driven by histamine and an allergy-mediated response. So it causes that inflammation on the skin surface. If you had leaky gut and you're getting more inflammatory chemicals going into your bloodstream, the two safest spaces for your chemicals to go would be your skin and secondly, your fat tissue. So actually, a lot of people find that they put on more weight when they have a lot of inflammation because your body stores inflammatory chemicals in your fat tissue because it's safer to put it there than your organs. So around your organs even. So when I'm on a tangent, when I talk to people about and when I look at understanding someone's weight issues, I always look at things that are way beyond calorie restriction and calorie intake because it's not always about how much you're eating. Sometimes it's about how many toxins that you're keeping, how stressed you are, sometimes how it might be even your hormones or your blood sugar imbalance. So when I look at skin issues, I always want to find out where are these toxins coming from? Where are these toxic chemicals coming from that is exacerbating your skin issues? And that's probably because of what you're eating, what your immune system's reacting to, or maybe something from your environment that is exacerbating them. Or maybe even it's your immune system that's been dysregulated for whatever reason. And there are loads and loads of reasons for that. And I'm going to go into it later. But kids that have been born by C-section are more likely to get allergies and autoimmune issues than people who have been born by vaginal canal. So joint and muscle pain, like I said earlier. Malabsorption, of course, if you were to not absorb your foods well and you had this kind of guts, you wouldn't be absorbing the right foods through your gut because your gut cells actually produce the digestive enzymes you need to break down your foods properly. So if it's looking like this and you've got food coming through, you're not going to be transporting it into your bloodstream very well. The food might even hang around in your gut for too long, and that's what causes overgrowth of bacteria because the food doesn't get absorbed by you, but it gets fermented by the bacteria, and the bacteria make gas, and that causes the bloating, and then it's like a vicious cycle of more and more bacterial growth. Okay. So leaky gut as a body system imbalance. So as I've shown you on this slide, I always love to look at problems that are beyond the symptoms that you get on the surface. So the symptoms that you might get might be the skin issues, the IBS, so the digestive issues like your abdominal pain or constipation or bloating. That's all the surface level issue. So understanding what's actually happening underneath would be looking at, for example, the leaky gut side, maybe looking at immune system dysregulation or excess inflammation. If it's hormone issues, I'll definitely be looking at liver health as well. And then what are the root causes to that? Root causes to leaky gut, as we've been talking about all throughout this program, is not digesting properly, not chewing properly, not supporting that digestive process, helping your body produce the right levels of digestive chemicals in order for you to break down your food so that you doesn't hang around in your gut. It gets absorbed into your system as best as possible, right? Lack of sleep and not sleeping. Yes, not sleeping enough actually. How many of us are actually getting enough sleep, like 8 hours a night? How many of us are actually waking up feeling refreshed and like full of energy, you know? Stress is a massive issue when it comes to leaky gut because cortisol, your stress hormone, actually causes inflammation at your gut. And so Chloe, you're waking up tired all the time. That's really interesting. So I would love for you to just check in on yourself. Think about how easy is it for you to fall asleep? How easy is it for you to go back to sleep if you've woken up? How many times are you waking up through the night? And what reason is it for? Is it anxiety? Is it for no obvious reason? Is it to go to the toilet? So many things to ask. And if you wear an Apple Watch or a Fitbit or anything, it would be really great to see whether you're having enough REM sleep and deep sleep, because those are the restorative types of sleep that help you repair your gut, right? One big issue with leaky gut is that if we're constantly exposed to the root causes and inflammatory foods, if you just keep going and eating foods that don't work with you, say for example the pasta, and that's constantly causing leaky gut and inflammation, then your symptoms on the top, all the symptoms on the surface level are just not going to ever improve, right? So really have to work through the root causes to get you feeling better here. And stress, yeah, I know how you feel, Jazz. Stress, our modern day bane of our lives. Can't even stress, even how difficult it is to get rid of stress. Yeah, massive. I think I'll do a separate webinar on stress because it's just huge. Mental health.
I can speak now.
Oh, you can. Have you got
Yeah,
home?
I can speak now. I'm in my car, and yes, please do a separate webinar on stress, please.
Yeah. It is massive, isn't it? And I think like the pressure to work and like make a living in this day and age where like the cost of living is just absolutely mad. There's so much competition. It's just such a difficult topic, but yeah. Oh, okay, right. Mental health. So we'll go into stress a bit with this. So mental health, it's not all in our heads. I always say, like earlier, that mental health is very much biochemical. It is your situational situations that exacerbate it, but it is your genetics and your biochemistry that lay the foundations of your mental state. Because there are kids that have had nothing like go wrong, and they can still get depression and anxiety. You can have two people that go through the same negative event. Say for example, if you and your sibling had gone through loss of your parents, then the two of you may not react in the same way. So it's really interesting to understand the biochemistry behind mental health, and actually it's one of the things I specialize in. So firstly, before I go on, nutrition is so important for mental health. And plus, last time I said that with food, it's not just about fueling your body. Everything that you eat, you use to fuel, but also nourish every cell in your body. Your cells need protein, healthy fats, and carbohydrates that make sugar. And it needs all the micronutrients, so your vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, all of those. It is so important to get all of these adequate nutrients. I mean, your brain is actually 60% fat. So we have gone through the last couple of decades fearing fat and not eating fatty foods like butter, the fat on animal protein, cheese, for instance. Cheese works for some people, some doesn't work for others. So not having those adequate nutrients can really, really impact mental health. So gut-brain connection. So we talked about this last time with the gut brain nerve, so called the vagus nerve. So we've got that two-way communication. Your brain sends signals to your gut sends signals to your brain. For example, say if you are you've got this impending deadline that you didn't know and it's due like in half an hour. Oh my God, the anxiety with that. I don't know about you guys, but if I got a stressor like that, I'd be running to the toilet and I'd have not a very pleasant experience. So I remember when I was like that's it. When I was a child, I did piano exams. I think this was the first time I realized I had an IBS, because I had one of my piano exams, and oh my God, piano is like, you have to perform and it's so scary. I remember that morning of my exam, I had to go to the toilet like 3 times, and I was like, why am I emptying my bowels so quickly? Like, it's not nice. But you know how your brain perceives stress. For some people, it causes your digestive system to seize up and you get constipation. For others like me, we would get diarrhea. And it's just so not pleasant. So understanding why your brain tells your digestive system to do that is really key to helping you overcome your digestive issues here. So, interestingly, 90% of serotonin is actually made in your gut. So serotonin is your happy hormone, and most of it is made in the gut. And if you imagine having IBS, lots of digestive issues, the impact of that on your mental health is all about how you make enough serotonin. If you don't make enough serotonin, it will cause imbalances in your mental health. But serotonin doesn't only just keep you happy and content. It actually helps regulate your gut as well. So if you are seeing that leaky gut picture, your ability to make serotonin is going to be diminished. Okay. So I have a bit of I'm going to share the slides here, but in some of these points I've like linked or listed the research paper I'm referencing to. So the PMID, you can copy and paste that into PubMed or Google, and you should be able to find it. So yeah, people with IBS have a 3-fold increase of depression or anxiety risk. So it is actually crazy how those two conditions are linked. So, of course, if you are not digesting and absorbing your nutrients well, your neurotransmitter production is going to be will suffer, because you need proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals help you make serotonin, your happy hormone, dopamine, your pleasure and reward hormone, adrenaline and noradrenaline, those two are your stress hormones, and GABA is your calming neurotransmitter. When I say hormone and neurotransmitter, it's an interchangeable term. Hormone is easier to say than neurotransmitter. So yeah, you have to have good digestion, good nutrient status in order to make good balances of your neurotransmitters. So if you're on a diet of McDonald's all day long, every single day for the entirety of your life, imagine how depressed you would feel. So of course, having a very nice, diverse diet with lots of whole foods, good healthy foods, is going to make a happier brain. There's also research to show that fiber helps to support your mental health. I haven't actually linked the paper there, but I will do after this. So fiber helps support the growth of good bacteria. So when that happens, you make the short chain fatty acids, so SCFAs, that's what it stands for, that helps to reduce inflammation in your gut and helps to nurture the good bacteria that sends good signals to your brain. Okay. So infections, this is where the tables turn. So if you have any stomach flu, any E. coli, any salmonella, so food poisoning, any H. pylori, or yeast, even candida overgrowth, they all produce these toxic chemicals called LPS, lipopolysaccharides. You don't need to remember the name of that. But essentially, they just create chemicals that are toxic to the body, and that causes inflammation in your gut. So it can cause that leaky gut condition. But when it sends these signals to your brain, that can cause inflammation. And actually, it's quite correlated with depression. So, okay. Why is depression and anxiety so common? As I said, your biochemistry lays the foundation, and your biochemistry is determined by your diet, your lifestyle, environment, and genetics. Your environment could be if you're in a home with plenty of mold, that can impact your ability to make a good balance of neurotransmitters. If you are exposed to a lot of pollution, maybe on your way to work or maybe on the tube or something, that can impact your biochemistry and also your genetics. So if you guys don't know, I actually run a lot of genetics panels with my clients. So here is actually my own panel, and this is how I make my neurotransmitters based on my genetics. So it's a flow chart to make serotonin in the middle. That's your happy hormone. But you can see at the beginning, tryptophan is your amino acid. So it's the protein that you need in order to make serotonin. If I go on a low protein diet and don't eat any protein and I don't get any tryptophan, then how am I supposed to make serotonin? Right? So anything in purple, as you can see here, are things that actually help the process work. So again, if I had a really low vitamin D status, of course it's like super gloomy outside and like we have no sun, and so how are we supposed to get vitamin D? So no wonder we're all deficient in the UK, because it is just never sunny, and a lot of us get deficient in vitamin D. If we don't have enough of that, then our ability to make serotonin from tryptophan is actually impacted a lot. Secondly, omega-3. So there's a lot of research behind having plenty of oily fish, plenty of healthy fats to support the brain. And of course, if you remember, 60% of your brain is actually fat. So if we don't have enough fat in the diet, then you can end up with more inflammation and lack of a lower ability to make a good balanced neurotransmitter profile. Okay. So strategies for mental health. So of course, I think it's important to have lots of healthy fats. So extra virgin olive oil, plenty of avocados. I actually think butter is a health food because which is like an unpopular opinion amongst the health community, because we're still most of the health community is actually stuck in the past, whereby there was a very much controversial paper that came out in the 60s. Yeah, in the 60s, that said that butter was bad for you and that you should switch to margarine. Margarine is basically flora or any like butter alternative that's made from vegetable oils. It's actually far worse for you because butter is a saturated fat. Now, saturated fats are needed in your body. If you don't have a good balance between your saturated and unsaturated fats, you end up with poor cellular communication. So each of your cells have got to talk to one another. And if you have too many polyunsaturated fats, like for example from extra virgin olive oil, you become like super it's like a plastic bag getting like being too flimsy and not being able to hold the stuff that's in the plastic bag. If you get a really, really strong plastic bag, I don't know, made from jute or something, and it's super strong, nothing will leak through it. But you kind of, in terms of cellular communication, you do need some stuff to leak out. It can't just keep everything together. So you need it to be breathable, for example. So long story short, I think it's important to ensure that you've got plenty of good saturated fats, so like butter, also meats from healthy from healthy sources. So for example, chicken. I think steak can be really, really helpful as well, when you choose the right steak, because some beef can be inflammatory because it's factory farmed, or like your cows are not given their proper environment to live in. So it depends on what type of meat you're going for. Coconuts are really nice and healthy, with lots of saturated fats and good triglycerides as well. So that's all supports brain health. B vitamins. The reason why protein is so important is because protein is often a good source of B vitamins. Now, if any of you are plant-based, getting enough protein is the biggest challenge, because at the end of the day, we don't actually absorb plant proteins that well. Like, you can try and get as much protein through your diet as much as possible through beans, soybeans and things like that. But if your gut looks like this, especially, or if you have genetics that don't go your way in terms of plant-based eating, then your ability to absorb your proteins through your gut wall and not cause any issues is going to be compromised. So that's the biggest issue when it comes to anyone who's tried to be plant-based but is not getting enough protein. So protein is king. I know, Jazz, you're veggie. Do you eat eggs at all?
I do, but I'm not a big fan of them, so I do find it really hard to eat them daily.
Right, okay, makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So and you don't eat fish at all, do you? Not pescatarian or
No,
flexitarian?
no, I'm pescatarian.
Oh, okay, you're pesky. Okay, that's
I've
good.
got that going for
Pesky.
me.
That's a new that's good. That's a good new term that I've made. But yeah, pescatarian is fantastic, because then you can get not all the B vitamins, healthy fats as well from fish, and you're not missing out too much. So it's great. So I'm pleased with that. I'm a big fan of flexible eating, because I think it's one thing to follow a diet, but if it doesn't work for your body, I think it's really important to listen to your body and understand what you're missing, basically. So yeah, so we often actually find a lot of low mental health in people who are plant-based, because they're missing out on the B12, B6, which actually you can't get from plant foods, and they have to supplement. Omega-3s as well, if you're only going for plant-based sources of fat and no fish, it is quite tricky to get enough omega-3s, because especially, say for example, with with butter versus margarine, butter has a whole range of different fats, not just unsaturated fats, but also a good omega-3s as well. But if you were to eat margarine, you're basically getting just omega-6s and barely any omega-3s. And omega-6 is very inflammatory and can cause more pain signals. If you get painful periods, for instance, I would always say have more anti-inflammatory fats that are rich in omega-3s to help support your inflammation signals. I think I have digressed a little bit. So overall, just make sure you have all these brain healthy fats and nutrients like protein, B vitamins, choline, antioxidants. I love, but blueberries are a brain food, basically, by the way. Of course, we need to make sure that we heal this situation. So removing the inflammatory triggers like gluten and dairy if it doesn't work for you. Even if seafood or eggs doesn't work for you, then you need to remove it so that you can give your gut a bit of a break and replace it with the foods that do nourish your gut, so that you can heal that process. Plenty of fiber, of course, to support your bacterial balance, but it depends on how much fiber you can tolerate. If you have got an overgrowth of bacteria, that can differ, because if you have an overgrowth, then fiber will cause more bloating. So it's good to see what your tolerance is, and how to get that working for you. And there is a specific probiotics that actually support your mental health. So Invivo is one of my favorite supplement companies, and they have a specific probiotic called Mind and Mood, and they've done the research to find the specific strains that support good balance of mental health. And I've actually used this with several clients, and it seems to really help mental health issues like low moods, depression, anxiety. Hormones. Just quickly, so hormones are all the chemicals in your body that send a signal. So for women, it's we talk about estrogen and progesterone being our main hormones. And we also have testosterone, which is typically the male hormones, and men have higher levels of testosterone, but we need it as well because it helps us maintain muscle mass. It helps us be motivated. It also helps us have a decent sex drive as well. So every single hormone that you have in your body is in charge of sending signals, telling your body what to do at whatever time. Okay. And the glands in your brain, the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, are the ones that actually send signals to the rest of your body to tell them what you need to do. So it's like having a big symphony. And I like to think that your brain center, that's your conductor, and then you've got all the different types of instrument playing musicians in your thyroid gland, which supports your body temperature, your metabolism rates, hormone production. Your adrenals help you with your stress response, getting you out of bed, helping you tackle your day-to-day. And then you've got your sex hormone organs that help you with your moods as well, not only your fertility and your monthly cycle for women, and your libido at all. It also impacts your moods because your hormones actually make up your personality. It's very very interesting. So sex hormone imbalances. So it was hormone issues and bad PMS for Jazz, right? And Chloe, you are suffering from similar. So PMS and PMDD, having any mood swings or excess acne, menstrual cramps before your period, that's all counted as PMS, and all a case of having an imbalance in the ratio between estrogen and progesterone. So I actually work with a fair few women with hormone imbalances actually, and it's super fascinating how it's impacted by the gut. So your menstrual cycle should be around 28 days. Not everybody has a 28-day cycle, but generally we use it as a guide. So 28 days, I would really recommend counting on your calendar. So the day one is the first day of your last period. And then the last day of your last day of your menstrual cycle will be the day before your next period. So my cycles are actually around 25 days. And at one point in my life, after a really bad breakup, my cycles went down to 14 days. And the reason being was that my progesterone levels were on the floor. One day I'll do a hormone balance webinar, and I'll show you my progesterone levels are like on the floor, and I was just like, what the but yeah, so that can really happen, and that basically impacted my fertility because I had gone through such a stressful time of my life. That basically shut down my hormones, and my hormones are like, okay, we're not doing this, and we're not doing the fertility thing, and shutting it up shop. So yeah, it's really interesting to see how your hormones play when it comes to your gut health actually. So in the case of PMS, for example, and endometriosis, PCOS, and what else, like fibroids as well. If anyone else with these issues, it's really important to understand that your ability to keep your hormones balanced is very much dependent on your liver actually. So your liver detoxifies and gets rid of any excess hormones. So if you have PMS, I would definitely look into your balance of hormones, because usually the case is that your estrogen is higher than your progesterone. So estrogen is the hormone that makes you feel really sexy. It really raises just before your ovulation date to help you release an egg, amongst other hormones. But it's the one that's like the diva hormone. And then progesterone is your hormone that makes you want to stay at home just before your period, feeling a bit like inward, and you just want to not speak to anybody. So yeah. Your ability to get rid of excess estrogen, however, is very much dependent on your liver. So if you do feel that rockiness just before your period and super emotional, a bit moody, irritable, getting cramps, maybe excess spots as well, it's probably because the ratio between the two hormones is just the difference between them is just too great, and your mental health suffers, because at the end of the day, your hormones are things that impact your personality and how you feel. So getting rid of excess estrogen is really important. And actually, I'm going to skip to my genetics test. I know this diagram looks absolutely mad, but any blue box, that's an estrogen. That's a hormone type. So hormones is actually a really complex picture. So it's not just about having testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. There are so many different types of hormones, and you convert it into different places. All you guys have to know is that your balance between getting rid of estrogen versus your ability to make progesterone impacts your moods and hormone balances massively. So I find that a lot of women with PMS or endometriosis tend to make a lot of these two. So 2-OH and 4-OH is like a toxic metabolite, like intermediary between estrogen, which is your diva hormone, and then what happens to it when it gets gotten rid of in your liver. So this whole section happens in your liver, and your liver is supposed to get rid of it. If it doesn't, then it can cause a lot of imbalances. So and of course, once your liver's detoxified them, it has to put the excess estrogen and hormones that you don't need into your guts so that you can poop it out. And that's how you maintain a balance. If you had constipation and you're just backed up for days, your used up estrogen that's quite toxic can get recycled back into your bloodstream, and that can also contribute to estrogen dominance. Other sources of estrogen, I don't know if you guys have experienced or heard anyone say that you shouldn't be using Teflon or plastic in your heating up plastic in the microwave, or using plastic bottles, for instance, because in plastic especially, and materials like Teflon and even pollutants from the environment, a lot of it is very much hormone disrupting. And what happens is actually a lot of these exacerbate your ability to get rid of estrogen and actually adds to the load. So if you do have any hormone imbalances, I always recommend that minimizing your plastic exposure. And if you do use plastic containers, don't heat up in it. Just put like the food in a plate or on a plate or something and put it in the microwave after, or heat it up on the hob, which is even better. Maybe try to avoid plastic bottles as well. When you're buying like olive oils and things like that, try to buy the ones that are in glass bottles rather than plastic, because the plastic gets leached into oils quite easily. And also look at like what you're using in terms of on your skin. So like skincare, moisturizers, makeup. I'm a huge fan of natural makeup, and I love to use brands that don't use any hormone disrupting chemicals. Yeah, so digestion is super key to getting your hormones in balance. And how well your liver works is very much dependent on your workload. So if you're drinking a lot, taking drugs, like in terms of medication or recreational, lots of pollution in your environment, or maybe someone, if you or your or someone that you know smokes as well, that can be adding to the job that your liver needs to do. So your liver needs protein again. So same as the brain, you need lots of protein, lots of B vitamins and minerals, but more importantly, not more importantly, same importance, you also need lots of sulfur-rich foods. So eggs are really great. Onions and garlic are really good. However, if you are reacting to onions and garlic because they're high in FODMAPs and causing a lot of bloating, then you might miss out on sulfur. cruciferous vegetables, so your brassicas, your broccoli, cabbage, kale, cauliflower as well. It's really good for helping you detoxify excess estrogen. So yeah. Spot your hormone imbalances. So I think I've already gone through most of this anyway. So acne, particularly on the cheeks and around your jaw. If it's that, then it's mostly hormone driven. Mood swings before your period, abnormal hair growth. So if anyone has PCOS, they might find that you're getting more facial hair, maybe on the upper lip and also sideburns. And then heavy periods, menstrual cramps, and low sex drive as well. I won't go through that again because it's scary. The immune system. So immune system, as I said, 75% of your immune system is in your gut. It's called actually the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, if you wanted to know. So as I also mentioned earlier, people who are born by C-section actually have an increased risk of allergies and autoimmunity. So you can check that research paper out if you want. It's here. It's very, very interesting because it makes sense, because if you're born naturally, you go through your mum's vaginal canal, which is full of good bacteria, hopefully. Anyway, sometimes they have bad bacteria and that can impact your immune system too. But hopefully, if your mum had good bacteria, that helps to set your immune system up for a good start. So throughout life, your immune system is constantly checking in on learning about your environment, checking in what bacteria is around, like learning what's good for you, what's bad for you, and what's harmless, right? So if you didn't have a very good start to your immune system, immune system's education career, then you can end up with more risk of more reactions to harmless things. So for example, harmless reaction to or peanuts, for example. If you're hypersensitive to allergens in your environment, hay fever, eczema, food allergies, or dust, animals. If you're hypersensitive, it's probably because your immune system is like just constantly anxious about these foreign allergens. So the more well-trained your immune system is from the very get-go when you're a child, the less you're going to be at risk of suffering from these allergies. So what the problem is as well, when we were young, most of us grew up in very much clean households where we're Dettolling absolutely everything, because we were quite scared of bacteria back then. So yeah, anti-bac and all of that, having a very sterile home environment. I don't know if your parents were ever like people that wiped your hands with wet wipes all the time, not allowing you to play in the mud and things like that. That actually caused more problems than it actually solved, because it means that the immune system just didn't get a good enough education. So yeah, and of course, if you've had antibiotics kills a lot of good bacteria as well as the bad, so that can really change your immune system. I think there's been a few people on this course that had surgery or a big food poisoning episode whereby they had to take a lot of antibodies, and that changed their gut microbiome massively, because most of your gut microbiome, all the bacteria, is actually helping train your immune system to be regulated about the environment that you're in. So I'm going to repeat that. So the microbiome, the bacteria and other microbes in your gut help your immune system to get regulated so it doesn't overreact to harmless things like dust or certain allergens in food. So it's really important to have a good balanced microbiome. Immune system problems. Okay. Does anyone have eczema, skin issues, any joint pain, or any autoimmunity, or maybe sore throat? Arthritis. Okay. Interesting. How long for? So
I can speak
Jasmine,
now.
just okay.
Probably I've noticed it for like this last year. So when it's got cold, it's like that weird, like twangy feeling in your joint,
Yeah.
and it makes it hard to pick up things as well.
Oh, really? How is it
Yeah,
in both hands or just one
just in my
hand?
right hand, just in the
Oh, okay.
knuckles.
Oh, really? Okay. That's interesting.
So I need
Yeah.
to get checked out.
Yeah. Of course, that's another source of inflammation or a sign of inflammation, really. So if you have whether it's autoimmune or not, when it's autoimmune, it usually is the case that it's in both hands. If it's in one hand, then it's probably just arthritis. But of course, like when you have that leaky gut situation, a lot more inflammatory chemicals from your food or your environment is going to get into your bloodstream and in your in your body basically. And that those chemicals, if they're inflammatory, they can circulate round to your joints as well. So like what I said earlier, when I drank milk, immediately, literally a couple of hours later, I'd get pain in my bum. So if you are constantly exposed to something that is stimulating your immune system and making your immune system say like, oh, hey, this is not good, I'm like panicking about this foreign object, then taking that trigger out of your diet or maybe taking it out of your environment is really important. I would definitely check for mold. Mold in UK homes is so bad because like mold is everywhere. It's like, so our houses are so damp and horrible because it's like our weather's horrible and damp as well. So it causes a lot of mold growth, and you'd be surprised at how many problems that mold actually causes. Like black mold is highly toxic, and if your liver's not very good at getting rid of the toxins, then it can cause other issues, including autoimmune problems and depression even. I will show this in a different webinar one day, but I'll show you my uh detoxification pathways for mold. I actually really struggle with mold, and if I'm exposed to mold, it can really impact my immune system. So yeah. um Sore throats as well. I think a lot of people are getting coughs lately, especially with COVID having just gone, and causing a lot of inflammation in the airways. It's like after COVID, it's been such a great opportunity for bad bacteria to colonize in your throats and airways, and that can cause a lot more issues like that. I had a cough for the longest bloody time. After COVID, I just could not shift this cough, and it was just killing me. Whereby I was just like coughing so hard it would cause me a lot of pain. And it would be like, I don't know if any of you got it, but it would be like where it's a tickle, it would just tickle and then cause me uncontrollable coughs for a while. Finally, few months ago, I finally got rid of it properly. So um again, looking at that, it would be very much important to look at the bacterial microbiome that is actually sitting in your throat and airways and your mouth, seeing whether you have any overgrowth of bacteria in your mouth that's going down to your throat. Tonsillitis as well. Has anyone had glandular fever before? So glandular fever would cause issues like very much fever, tonsillitis or sore throat, flu-like symptoms, muscle weakness, low energy. It can really knock you for sick. So some people have had it when they were young, like in their teens, and then it changes their immune system massively. So yeah, lots of things to think about with the immune system. How are we getting on? Bear with me. I don't seem to be able to click forward. There we go. Perfect. This is the slide I wanted. So supporting the oral microbiome. As I said in one of I think it was the first webinar, I was talking about what's your oral microbiome like? Like, do you have a white coating on your tongue when you wake up? Because that is the biofilm that your bacteria can make, and that can cause that can be ingested especially if you don't brush your teeth before breakfast. And it can cause a lot of bacteria to stick. Does your tongue look pale? Is there any nutrient deficiencies that we need to look at? Is your tongue bright red? If your tongue is bright red, then it can be an indicator of B12 deficiency. Do you get ulcers? Actually, before I go on to that, if your tongue does look pale, it could potentially be an iron deficiency. And do you get ulcers frequently? If you get ulcers a lot, then it could mean that you've got some bacteria in your mouth that your immune system is just not liking, and it's just causing a lot of soreness and infection. And cold sores as well. I get cold sores anytime I am under loads and loads of stress, or I've just had no sleep for like a week. It is a virus that lives with you and it never goes away. But when you're compromised, it will come and strike. So good to check on to see whether your oral microbiome is healthy. And how to tackle immune system balance. So immune system imbalance, of course, we need to get you back to a healthy lining like this. So how do we do that? Making sure that you've got good vitamin D levels, vitamin C, zinc is really helpful as well. Healing leaky guts, getting your inflammatory triggers out of your diet. So if it's gluten, then totally take it out for a while, a couple of months at least. I took it out for a few years actually. But I have slowly reintroduced it, and nowadays I don't really react to gluten or dairy actually. Depending on the dairy, it might. Alcohol is essentially like an antiseptic, and that can totally bulldoze your bacteria in your guts. Because at the end of the day, if you use vodka to clean your table, it would kill all the bacteria on it. Imagine the impact of alcohol on your gut. I'm not saying completely get rid of alcohol forever, although you might want to, depending on how well you are, how good you are at getting rid of your alcohol. It will impact your digestive system and your ability to heal leaky gut. If you have got this situation whereby you're feeling very lethargic from certain foods, you're getting cold and flu symptoms, or you're getting skin issues, and you've got certain imbalances, then I would say removing alcohol for a while can make a profound difference for supporting your immune system and also helping you heal this situation. Alcohol, of course, depletes your B12 levels, your zinc levels, because your liver has got to do the hard work of getting rid of the alcohol. So it's like draining your batteries if you have too much alcohol. Same with drugs as well, and that goes for medication and recreational drugs. So it's always important to just like understand what your load is, like what the workload for your body is. Are you adding loads of inflammatory substances, foods, drinks, whatever, for your body to deal with? Can you handle that right now? Can you afford for your body to have to do all that work, or can you give it a break for a while so that you can heal better and feel better for the long term? Because later, if you can give your body that chance to heal, later you should be able to deal with having a drink here and there, having a bit of gluten, some bread on the off, when you just want to enjoy yourself, when you're on holiday, or maybe at a birthday party, you just want to be able to let go when you can. But for you to get to that point, you have to give your body a chance to heal. Okay. So of course, balancing the microbiome. I am such a big fan of making sure that we have a good level of good bacteria in your gut. So lots of good commensals, which are the bacteria that help defend you, so your first line of defense, and get rid of any bacteria that's not doing you any favors. So yeast infections are a massive problem, I find, especially with women. If you are at risk of thrush or bacterial vaginosis, or like anyone can get thrush on their skin, whether you're male or female, and you can see that there is an imbalance in bacteria, addressing that root cause, getting rid of that bacteria, is really, really important for your recovery. If you find that your immune system is constantly reacting, then I do recommend obviously getting these nutrients sorted. But reishi mushroom is quite good because there's plenty of research showing that reishi mushroom regulates the immune system and stops your immune system from overreacting to unnecessary stuff like dust and pet dander or pollen. Hay fever is my the bane of my existence. I hate hay fever because it's like the flowers are nice. I want to enjoy it. I love the summer, but why have you got to get me sniffing and itchy and there all every spring and summer? But hey, sleep. Sleep is your body's own natural form of therapy. It is better than, it's like the best medicine for you. I um I am inherently a night owl. I blame my family for that because they're all night owls. And and growing up, I always neglected my sleep, and I wouldn't sleep until like midnight or 1 a.m. And through even working in London, where I just prioritize work over my own health, I would always go to bed late. And if I wasn't working, I'd be going out and going to dinner with friends or going to bars and stuff. And I'd just get home really late. And I'll be up at like at least 7 in the morning, and I wouldn't get the full 8 hours that my body actually needed. So I ended up being very had loads of digestive issues. I had a terrible immune system, and my hormones were all over the place. So when I decided to prioritize my sleep finally, everything changed. My hormones actually balanced. I had high cholesterol levels, and being quite healthy, I shouldn't have high cholesterol levels, but actually you'll find that in my genetics, I'm more geared to having more high cholesterol. So sleep massively reduces your cholesterol levels, helps you tone up, and also have a good weight balance, helps your metabolism work properly. And what else does it do? It does so much. I could go on and on and on. So supporting your sleep, making sure that you're going to bed, hopefully before 11. 11 to 1 a.m. is a very crucial time. It's where a lot of your recovery happens, and also you get the most deepest sleep from that time. So it does, even if you went to bed at like 3 a.m. and then woke up at 11 a.m. in the morning, even though you're getting 8 hours of sleep, it might not be good quality because you're not following the circadian rhythm of this the sunrise and sundown. So getting that crucial timing is really important for your recovery. So yes, nutrient deficiencies to look out for. So I've actually put a nutrient deficiencies form worksheet in your module. So feel free to fill that in. And that will basically give us an indicator as to what type of nutrient deficiencies you might be at risk of. So if you have gut issues and low stomach acid, so if you do have poor stomach acid levels, especially if it's low, then your B12 levels can be quite at risk of being low. If you have gut issues, so your ability to absorb nutrients is poor, then your folate can often be low. Iron also can be low. Vitamin D, if it's not very sunny all the time, then that can lead to vitamin D deficiencies. So I always say that blood tests are so important. So this is a list of nutrients and also test panel. So full blood count, that can tell us whether you are anemic or not. Liver and kidney panel gives us a good indicator of whether your kidneys and liver are detoxifying toxins from your body well enough. Cholesterol balance, that is really important to see because your cholesterol makes your sex hormones. I think, unpopular opinion again, cholesterol is a very, very important component to every single cell in your body because it makes your cell membranes. Without cholesterol, you'd actually die. So you'd need plenty of cholesterol, but not too much, because too much means that your liver is not processing it properly, or maybe not converting cholesterol into your hormones well. And that can actually be down to hormone imbalances, genetics. It could be down to nutrient deficiencies as well. So it's really important to check, have your bloods run quite regularly. So I'll do at least once a year, do a blood test. Iron levels as well. If you have gut issues, iron is very commonly very low because you absorb it through your gut. Your gut lining has channels where it regulates your ability to absorb iron. So that's an important marker to look at. Your thyroid, of course, it's the gland in your neck, and it is the one that acts like a thermostat. regulates your body temperature. It helps you with your metabolism. It also basically keeps an eye on all your other hormones and makes sure that you're making your hormones in the right balance. Vitamin D3 goes without saying. B12 and folate. If you don't have enough B12 and folate, you'll definitely feel low in energy. You might even feel shaky or more anxiety. So B12 and folate and other B vitamins like vitamin B6 and B2, they're very important in helping you make your neurotransmitters. So you cannot make good levels of neurotransmitters and keep good mental health if these are low. Same with sex hormones. If you have PMS or any sex hormone imbalance, then making sure that your nutrient status is supported and optimal is really important, because without these, you cannot make a good level of hormones. Zinc is important because it's very much involved in the immune system. And magnesium, the NHS might not run it for you because they don't really like to do extra stuff because their budget is very low due to our current government. We won't go into that. But yeah, anyway, try your best to get as many bloods run as possible. And I'm going to send you a link if you're interested in getting it done privately. I always get my bloods done with Medichecks, and they've got a panel called the Well Woman and the Well Man. Literally the best value test I have found, because it does all of the right blood test markers, and you don't have to try and convince your doctor to do it. And so I find that really, really helpful in getting it done. And there are clinics across the country, so it is super helpful. So yes, so please do go ahead and find that form on the Practice Better app. I will also upload the worksheet for this module, so feel free to work through that. So if you are getting low energy, bleeding gums as well, broken nails, and hair loss, these are all signs of nutrient deficiencies. If you are having broken nails and hair loss, especially, I'll definitely be looking at B12 because and zinc, and your ability to break down nutrients that through your stomach and your small intestine subsequently, because not having the right materials to make your foundations, basically, because if you don't have any bricks, how are you supposed to build a house? It's gonna, if you're trying to build a house with straw, you're like a poor diet, i.e. straw, then you're gonna get brittle nails, right? You're going to get brittle hair. You're going to get hair falling out. It's not going to be sticking properly. You need good quality bricks and mortar in order to make your house. Okay. So I think that brings us to the end, actually. Good. Why can I never get to the last stage? Oh, that's really annoying. Okay, cool. I think that was it. So, any questions, girlies?
Not from me. That was super useful. Kind of eye-opening.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased. Good. What was the bit that stood out for you?
I think it was the hormone health
Yeah.
part, and then learning about how a leaky gut can affect that. It's definitely something I'm gonna look into and try and understand how to manage that better, and if changing my diet slightly or tweaking a few things will help with that.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I think that's really, really key, because it's like a lot of women go through life just accepting PMS and accepting that it's just like part of your cycle. But there's loads that we can do. Like, as you can see today, like there's just so much we can do to help your PMS. Like simply just getting your hormones that are in excess to be excreted through your gut more efficiently, that can reduce the amount of PMS you actually feel and how that impacts your day-to-day. Right. It is possible not to have any PMS as well. I don't have PMS. I think back in the day, I did have more. It wouldn't be great. I did have like emotional spells where I'd like get really sad, but I just literally don't have any PMS anymore. So it is completely possible to have no negative symptoms from your menstrual cycle.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chloe, any questions at all?
No questions. I think it was a really informative session, and I'm quite looking forward to looking through the slides like in more detail after.
Sure thing. Yeah.
And kind of make making like notes of the key things that I need to look at, like the sleep part, definitely. When you was talking about like a poor sleeping pattern and everything, that's me. Like sometimes I don't fall asleep till like 12, 1 a.m. and then I still have to be up at 6, 7 a.m. the next day for work, so I'm not really getting a proper sleep every night.
Yeah, you'll find that if you actually manage to have a good night's sleep consistently, it will do a world of good to helping you regulate your gut as well, and reducing and just regulating everything. You'll start to see things dissipate as well. So before you go to bed, I think it's really important to have a good sleep schedule, like a good sleep routine. What do you do before bed? Are you working at all, or are you on your phone? Is there anything that's like you're doing that might be impacting your sleep?
So it's quite difficult. Like I watch films a lot at night. Me and my partner always put on a film, and I find like the background noise helps me fall asleep. But if it's a good film, I end up watching it and I'm like, I shouldn't have watched it. So it's kind of
Yeah.
making sure that I'm switching off from what's on the TV and more just listening to the background noise instead.
Yeah, I totally relate because I can't watch psychological thrillers. Otherwise, I'll be up all night just thinking about the film.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's bad. So I would say to my partner, no, we are not watching a horror or a psychological thriller before bed because I literally can't sleep. So it might be a case of thinking, just like switching it up and choosing things that aren't going to make you think too much at night time, like maybe putting on Friends or something that's a bit more lighthearted rather than something that's going to be really deep, or just like
Yeah, that's a good
leaving
idea.
the crazy stuff. Yeah, like leaving the horrors and thrillers for like the weekend instead of your week,
Yeah.
because getting that sleep before another day of work is super important. So um I totally think that being able to sleep without noise as well is really important. My partner can't sleep unless he has a podcast playing in his ears, but when that podcast stops, it wakes him up. So we have to think about how is that impacting your stress response, because your cortisol is supposed to be nice and low at night time so that you can fall asleep well.
Yeah.
If there's anything like TV noise or anything like the how the film is going and that's raising your cortisol levels, that's going to make it difficult for you to fall asleep because cortisol needs to be low and virtually non-existent. So yeah, nurturing that sleep schedule is key.
Yeah, it's
Loads of stuff to do there.
definitely something I'm gonna work on.
Totally. So at the end, so we're at the end of the program. I think Jasmine's gone, but so I think the email's going out in 5 minutes time, but basically there will be a link for you to book in the one-to-one session. So now that we've got all this knowledge, we're going to tie in everything together so that I can help you come up with a strategy that's going to work for you. So a lot of what I've recommended already may apply to you, but it might not. It also might not apply to you. So what we're going to do is tie in everything that we've learned, everything that you've learned from your workbooks and everything, and see what is your intermediate mediators that are causing that imbalance, that is causing these symptoms that you're feeling. But then also like identifying those root causes at the very bottom of the tree. And so I can help you find out exactly what nutritional strategies we need to do, lifestyle strategies, and also supplement strategies that will really help shift things for you. So so feel free to click on that link in your emails. I'm going to pop it in the chat box as well in the group chat, and then you can just like click a slot in the next couple of weeks, and we'll do your one-to-one.
Yeah, sounds perfect. Thank you. I'm really looking
Good.
forward to the one-to-one.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm excited too because at the end of the day, it's all about personalized medicine for me, and I don't think it's not, it doesn't work when you just give people blanket advice. It's far more important to do a one-to-one session, tie it all together, get it working for you. So yeah, that's how I work. So thank you so much for joining me on this program. It's been an absolute pleasure to teach you and everybody who's going to be watching on the recording later. Please do book in that time with me, and I really look forward to delving into your health in a bit more detail. So yeah, thank you for joining me on this journey.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll end this and I'm going to upload the recording tomorrow. Okay, have a good evening. Speak to you soon.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.